Thank you. All right, we'll go to what is council's wishes on the approval of the written minutes of the April 22nd council meeting?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse?
I make a motion to approve the written minutes of the April 22nd council meeting.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, seconded by Ms. Housefeld to approve the written minutes of the April 22nd council meeting. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Next on the agenda, we're going to skip over 2 and go to 3. We'll get Ms. Vatter out of here. Jennifer Vatter is here to discuss Orchard Street, so we'll let you get in and get out. What did I say? Something to Adam. I'll watch.
Evening, I'm Jennifer Vatter with JMA Consultants, and I'm coming tonight because the OPWC has offered the village a 100% loan. So I'll kind of go over this project, a little history. If you remember, every year we apply for the, they're called the SKIP grants, SKIP LTIP grants through the Ohio Public Works Commission. And we applied for both Orchard and Langley. So neither one of them scored well enough to receive the grant funding. So we apply, which we have the past couple of years, for a grant loan. This is the same fund. If you remember, we've done Delmar with the most recent ones, Delmar, Jackson, Moeller wasn't too long ago. McClelland was a small one that goes to the small government program, which I want to touch on just a minute, also through the Ohio Public Works Commission. So we've applied for this project for the last few years. It hasn't scored very well. So what they do when they've gone through the projects that have been funded, if they have enough loan money left, they will continue down that list and then ask the community if you would like a 100% loan for the total project cost. So it is a 0% 30-year term. You can prepay it at any time with no penalty. So, and there are no origination fees or anything like that. So this project, again, similar kind of to the Delmar Jackson project, I would say. It is complete reconstruction. So it includes, as I listed on here, curb removal and replacement, curb ramps, full depth. So pavement comes completely out, upgrade to the storm sewer facilities as necessary, and then kind of the remaining items on there. So the total project cost is $948,000. So, and I've listed the payment there, and as Peggy knows, those payments are actually twice a year, but that's the total per year. So if you want to move forward, you can decide, we can communicate that back to our district liaison and let them know that you want to take the loan. If you don't want to take the loan at this time, we can reapply again in September. They're going to be back on their regular schedule. So we could reapply. We would know in December probably if you were funded, and then you could get a project agreement in July of next year instead of this year. So if we're successful. The problem in what I brought up to Tom and Peggy is that for some reason, I mean, Orchard is, as you well know, it's not in great shape. But it's not in absolutely terrible shape. It's just there's so many cuts and it doesn't ride well and the curbs are, not high, but it hasn't been scoring really well. So that's why, we don't always recommend. Sometimes we say, no, you know what, just let's go for a grant again because we think you have a good shot. It has a decent shot, but we just keep seeing that it hasn't scored very well. So, that's why I would say it is, a nice opportunity to have 0% for 30 years if you choose to move forward. If you don't, we can certainly reapply. If you do want to move forward, we could do the design this year, finish it, would probably bid it late this year or early next year, and then construction would be in 2022. And then those loan payments begin the following year. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. There's a chance that it might get down to Langley as well on that list, but Langley sits, well below this project. I don't know, at least a half a dozen maybe. So it just depends on who takes this money, if it gets down to that. So I wanted to just kind of let you know on that as well.
Mr. President,
Mr. Ray Culbertson.
when's the deadline to accept the 0% loan?
There is not a hard and fast deadline. I mean, he said we would like to know, if I'm going to council tonight, they would like to know this week, but he has not given me a hard and fast deadline. So if I tell him that council wants to consider and they would like a couple of weeks, I think that would be fine. But yeah, this is kind of a subjective as they go down the list, so they don't give us a hard and fast deadline, but it is a pretty quick turnaround because the OPWC likes to get this money spent. So,
Mr. President,
Mr. Taberky?
how long a time frame is this project? From
Con-
when they start tearing up the street to the end? Is that a 2-month project, month project?
oh, I mean, it's a full reconstruction, so I would say, maybe even 3 to 4 months, maybe. It just depends on, the intensive. But, we would start this, you'd be able to start in spring. I mean, it would certainly be finished, by the end of summer. But,
My problem with Roger Bacon being there,
yeah, we
if
would.
they're in
we
school,
would
it's gonna
wanna-
be a pain.
Yep, we would want to time it then, Don, if you want, then we could start, after school lets out. But we could still bid it earlier so that, you try to get a good price as the contractors are lining up their work. Because, that's the other thing is we are seeing, even in the last 3 months, it is amazing. I'm sure as you all know and everything else, prices are, going up. So, we would want to bid it, especially to try to get it in the queue, and then we wouldn't start it until spring. Or we could, just start right when Roger Bacon gets out, say that's when the start date is. And then sometimes, you don't want to pin that contractor too much to say it absolutely has to be finished before school starts, but that would certainly be the goal. And I think that's feasible, a 3-month period, but there's probably a little overlap. I don't want to, give too pretty of a picture that there wouldn't be any overlap of construction while Roger Bacon's in, so.
Steve, Valerie, this,
Sorry.
You're supposed to call me ahead of time to let me know about these questions.
I'm assuming we need an ordinance for this?
As far as OPWC and the Hamilton County, our district liaison, you do not. Internally, whatever you need would be up to you. But since you've already passed the enabling legislation to apply for the grants, it's already enabled you to enter into the agreements as far as the OPWC is concerned. So for them, they do not need it. We pretty much tell them, yes, you accept it, and they'll send it up to OPWC and get the project agreement in place.
I would have to look at the enabling legislation to confirm that. I can check on that this week.
So I would make a motion if we needed to put an ordinance on the table at the next council meeting to accept this.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
A motion by Mr. DeBerke, seconded by Mr. Ray Culbertson to go ahead and place an ordinance on the table to go out for the project at the next council meeting. Any remarks from anyone?
If it's needed.
Please?
If it's needed.
Yeah, correct. Mr. Schulmar?
Sure.
Is there a possibility, I don't know how the OPWC is funded, but, we're hearing in the news that there's going to be infrastructure money from the federal government. Does that find its way to OPWC?
Well, I'm not sure. So the OPWC, the nice thing about these funds is that so this is a bond issue with the state every year. OPWC also has, so this is what's called the SCIP money, State Capital Improvement Program. They also have LTIP funds, which are the gas tax. So this is just state money. I'm not sure how that infrastructure, it might be down, might get funneled through block grant. I have heard of another funding program, and I don't know if any of you have heard about this, that might come through block grant, that might get approved by the legislature by the end of June, that is going to be for communities, I think, under 75,000 population. And right now I heard under median household income of 50,000, which your threshold is higher than that, at least from the numbers that I've seen. But that's possibly another pot if those numbers get adjusted. That's the one I know of for right now. But yeah, the infrastructure funds, I'm not sure. Typically those federal funds will get run through OKI or through ODOT. With these, we don't have to follow all of those federal strings, so we don't have to do the environmental study, the additional geotech, the additional, all of those additional things. Not that we don't meet all the standards and regulations, but it's just you don't have to go through the same federal process, which takes really long and increases the cost of your project. So it's nice to use state funds.
Anyone else? If not, all those in favor of placing the ordinance on the table, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. We will place that ordinance on the table next week, if needed.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. and the next thing on the agenda is due to some conflicts with individuals and maybe not having enough people, we're looking to move the council meeting to next Thursday instead of the 27th due to certain commitments, and the June council meeting to June 17th. Any comments from anyone?
Mr. President?
Ms. Bettinghouse?
So I think for May 20th, which is next week, I think from all the council people, we heard that that was a good day, correct?
I believe so.
I'm not sure about the 17th. We haven't discussed that. So are all the council? June 7th. You can do Pate?
I will be ready to do it.
I can. Dawn?
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
it sounds like that we'll have majority here for those,
Okay.
both of those days. So I make a motion that we change the May council meeting to May 20th and June council meeting to June 17th.
I'll second it.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Mr. Ray Culbertson to change the May council meeting to May 20th, the June council meeting to June 17th. Any other remarks? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. I will let the clerk know so that she can place that on the village website as well. The next item on the agenda then is to discuss, Ms. Heidi Culbertson has given us a ordinance to update our codified ordinances. Does anyone have any questions on that or a motion to place that on the table for next meeting?
Mr. President,
Mr. DeBerke?
make a motion for ordinance 11, 2021 on table for next council meeting.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. DeBerke, second by Mr. Ray Culbertson to place ordinance number 11, which is updating certain codified ordinances to our books on the table. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. All right. We'll move to reports of administrative officials. Mayor Stuchel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a reminder, this year's Cleanup St. Bernard Day is Saturday, May 22nd from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Tongs, trash bags, and gloves will be provided. If you're able to help, please send an email to mayor@cityofstbernard.org or a text to 543-3780 so that we can put some routes together. We'll meet in the parking lot by the lower level of City Hall. And a big thank you to Don Taberke for helping organize this event. The Memorial Day ceremony will be held in the parking lot by the lower level of City Hall on Monday, May 31st at 10 a.m. Please come to help pay tribute to those from our community who made the ultimate sacrifice. There will not be a parade this year, just the ceremony. Also, those wishing to learn more about the proposed non-discrimination ordinance, please go to the village website and go to the news tab to access the May newsletter. There is an explanation of the ordinance as well as a link to the entire ordinance to review. We are asking that those who might be interested in coming or participating in the public forum virtually or in person, please complete and submit the online survey by Saturday, May 15th. I'm also requesting that we go into executive session to discuss collective bargaining. That concludes my report.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeBerke.
make a motion, we go to executive session, end the meeting for collective bargaining.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. DeBerke, second by Ms. Bettinghouse to go into executive session at the end of this meeting to discuss collective bargaining. Are there any remarks? If not, clerk, will you call the roll on the motion?
Mr. DeRoche.
Aye.
Mr. Ray Coles.
Aye.
Mr. Sherman.
Aye.
Mr. Bob Hubbardson.
Aye.
Mrs. Bettinghouse.
Aye.
Mrs. Miller. Ms. Hausman.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays. Council will go into executive session at the end of this meeting. That's it, Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. Auditor, Ms. Brickway?
Thank you, Mr. President. The Auditor's Office provided the end of April revenue and expense spreadsheets to council and the administration. At the end of April, the village revenues were $4,098,604.78. Compared to last year, they are down $407,188.16. One of the main differences compared to last year was the BWC payment of $212,303.30 that we received last April, which was the kind of the beginning of all the COVID money. So I'm going to try to break that out so you guys can have a better comparison to remember. The expenses were $4,066,740.43. Compared to last year, they are up $263,449.51. On the table tonight to be discussed is Ordinance 12-2021. It is transferring $880,000 from the general fund, with $80,000 going to swimming pool cash account, $500,000 going to general bond retirement cash account, and $300,000 going into the employee health care cash account. It also provides additional appropriations to 2E3 tax refunds of $100,000. After talking to the tax administrator, she said basically this is being caused by residents and businesses that paid more than usual during COVID. There were some changes where a lot of employees thought they were going to work more, but they didn't. Their hours were cut and various things. She said hopefully that this is just this year that this will be happening. That was her increase in refunds. 2K2 miscellaneous $5,000 and 2K6 insurance $15,000. This is because the village received a check from the company insuring 404 Jackson. That is the house that caught on fire. We deposited the check as we were required to. The property was demolished, and we will need to pay the insurance company back so they can now pay the new owner of the property. So I had to use those two line items to pay them. And then 1501 TIF fund expense for $35,000. The reason for this is property values went up in St. Bernard, which is a good thing, and therefore the village received more TIF revenue, which we have to reimburse a percentage back to the schools per our agreement. So we brought in that much more that we used. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I added that later, so you'll have a new one. Yeah. Sorry about that. I meant to tell you that. I didn't want to kill any more trees, so I'll add that to the one. So, so basically, we just need to put $35,000 in because we've already pretty much used up the bulk of the first one, and there will be a second payment come August. And then finally, the mayor and I are working on the 2022 projected budget, which is due to the Hamilton County this summer. Please place this on the committee of whole to be discussed. We will have a public hearing on the 2022 budget before the June 17th, 2021 council meeting starting at 7 p.m. Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Law Director, Ms. Van Valkenburg.
Thank you. The mayor's once again stolen part of my thunder. But as you recall, there is a Laws, Contracts, and Claims Committee meeting next week on Wednesday the 19th. In advance of that, where we'll be discussing the proposed anti-discrimination ordinance has gone out with links in the newsletter. I believe it may also be available on the village website. I have a few hard copies available this evening if you all didn't get one and you want one. I've also been collecting and reviewing copies of ordinances dealing with short-term rentals, such as Airbnb, but not solely limited to Airbnb. My plan is to copy out several such ordinances for the Laws, Contracts, and Claims Committee members to review at or in advance of the meeting next week. I'm hoping to have copies of those available to you, either emailed to you if that's your preference, or I can print out hard copies and put them in your mailbox this weekend. So they should be available come Monday if you want to stop in and look at them. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to backtrack. Do I have a motion to place ordinance number 12 on the table for next week?
Mr. President,
Mr. DeBerke.
make a motion for ordinance 12, 2021 on the table next week.
Second that.
A motion by Mr. DeBerke, seconded by Mr. Ray Culbertson to place ordinance number 12 on the table next week. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Thank you. Treasurer, Mr. Ungrue.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening I have the statement from First State Bank for the 4th of July Memorial Fund that we have there. The balance for the city's account at the end of April 30th, 2021 totaled $5,657.64. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Safety and Service Director, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have a report tonight. However, I have an announcement. The village is now capable of taking appliances that have Freon and, for example, air conditioning and refrigerators. So you can place them out to the curb. We'll collect them, and then we can recover the Freon and dispose of it properly according to EPA. Thank you.
Thank you. For safety, do you want the doors taken off of those refrigerators?
Yes, that's still, yes, the safety issue is still
Okay.
a factor, but normally we couldn't take them because of the closed system and the compressor.
Gotcha. Thank you. Is there a report from the tax commissioner? Nothing? Okay. This time we'll move to reports of standing committees. Finance, Mr. DeBerke.
No report.
Thank you. Safety, Mr. Ray Culbertson.
Thanks, Mr. President. I'd like to thank everyone who came out for the Block Watch meeting 2 weeks ago. It was a great turnout. A lot of new people showed up that acted like implied that they would be showing up in the future. So with that being said, the next Block Watch meeting will be on Thursday, June 24th at 6:30 p.m. in the main level of the municipal building. Thanks again to Chief Simos and Lieutenant Ungary for attending the last meeting. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Service, Mr. Schulmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the Service Department report for April 2021. The Service Department placed 42 trucks at residences, 36 dumpsters at residences, 375 special pickups from residences, 212.89 tons of garbage taken to the landfill. They had 45.94 tons of recycling material, 56 pounds of scrap aluminum, 4 pounds of brass, 2 pounds of copper, and 11,028 pounds of scrap metal for recycling. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Public improvements, Mr. Bob Culbertson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The CIC met last month to discuss the ongoing Long John Silver's property. Good news for the residents. We have put that out to bid to see get demolished prices to demo that building. Also, at the next CIC meeting, Christy Zergis from Go Vibrant will be making a presentation about potentially the CIC sponsoring a walking route around St. Bernard that'll link us to other communities. So that is at the next CIC meeting, which is Tuesday, May 25th at 6 p.m. in Council Chambers. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Close contracts and claims, Ms. Bettinghouse.
No report.
Thank you. Marketing, Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would first like to give some recreation updates. There are more opportunities for summer, fall sports signups and pre-sale passes for the Aquatic Center on May 22nd and June 5th from 11 to 2 p.m. at the Aquatic Center. The breakdown of the pricing is in the May 2021 newsletter as well as listed on the village website. Our May 2021 newsletter has gone out to those residents that have registered their email addresses. Some highlights. Our business feature for May is 5-Star Mediterranean. The owner, Mr. Jahir, has been serving up Lebanese cuisine here in the village of St. Bernard for a year and a half. The restaurant is his dream, and although the pandemic has been difficult, he would like to remind people to not give up on their dreams. You can enjoy his tasty cuisine 7 days a week, and you can also call ahead for pickup. Please visit the May 2021 newsletter for the full article. Also included in the May 2021 newsletter is a draft of the non-discrimination ordinance. The ordinance has also been posted to the St. Bernard, Ohio Facebook site as well as the village website. There is a survey embedded in the newsletter to indicate whether you plan to attend the town hall. You will be asked to specify your preferred method of attendance, in person, via Zoom, or Facebook Live. The survey will end Saturday, May 15th. I would like to thank the residents of the village that have reached out to me in regards to this proposed ordinance. I have discussed your concerns in the laws, contracts, and claims meetings. I will also discuss a few topics this evening since they were brought up again this week. Regarding the village having an ordinance to fully support residents in ways that our local state government does not, I want you to know that I support you. Regarding the commission that the village is looking to establish, I also had concerns like you regarding the budget. I have shared those concerns. I am aware from my own personal research that there is limited data out there regarding other communities that have had complaints filed to determine a budget. There are also concerns which you have voiced regarding the individuals that will be chosen to be placed on this commission being nonpartisan in matters. Also, concerns that seem to keep coming up for this commission of the possibility of having illegitimate complaints being filed that will put the village at risk for a possible lawsuit. Again, I want the residents to know that I appreciate the time you have taken to speak with me on these matters. I have also brought up the possibility of putting the commission on the ballot this year to give every voter here in the village the opportunity to vote for this ordinance. I understand your concerns with taxpayer funds being used and the uncertainty of how this commission will work out financially. We cannot foresee the future, and I understand that this is not the answer that you want to hear from me. This is a draft document that is a work in progress, and this concludes my report.
Thank you. Excuse me. Business and Industry, Ms. Houseville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight I have the Building Department report for March and April. March, I had 4 residential permits, 3 commercial permits. Total fees for residential permits were $440.40. Total fees for commercial permits was $1,170.89. Amount paid back to the Treasurer, State of Ohio residential was $4.40. Amount paid back to the Treasurer, State of Ohio commercial was $35.13. And then for April, I had 4 residential permits, 4 commercial permits. Total fees for residential permits were $792.92. Total fees for commercial permits was $1,325.60. Amount paid back to the Treasurer, State of Ohio residential was $7.93. And amount paid back to the Treasurer, State of Ohio commercial was $39.77. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. This time, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council this evening?
Mr. President,
Mr. DeVerke.
just a question for the mayor if I don't get yelled at. In the past, we had building inspectors driving around looking at stuff. As I'm working throughout the city, I see more than 8 jobs the past 2 months being worked on roofs, windows. Do we have anybody driving around checking on stuff, or is it just all part-time?
So yes, it is part-time, but Jim does drive around and look at that as well. I can't give you the exact mileage log that he has, but he does go around. We also have plenty of people that also report jobs to us as far as that are being done to be checked on, and he does follow up on that. I don't know that he patrols the same way as Mr. Ostertag did. I know that's what you're comparing it to. But yes, they do look, but I don't have the exact amount of time that they dedicate to that. And he is out actually at the same time while he is looking for those kind of things, and he does intercept those situations because while he is out doing hip inspections, does come across that quite often.
Anyone else? Ms. Prickwick?
Thank you, Mr. President. Peggy Brickwig, 4801 Hager Drive. So this is just a personal thing here. I'd like to commend Mindy for finally speaking up. I've been keeping quiet on this discrimination ordinance, and I'm hearing more and more and more negative things about this. And my personal opinion is there's state and federal laws. I don't think our city has any right trying to make up our own in between there. There's plenty of laws, and I don't personally, and like a lot of people feel, we don't want 3 individuals that somebody's going to pick to tell us what's right or wrong. Okay, I live in America, and I don't think that's right. I think if I do something wrong, I would like to see it go to a law enforcement person, not 3 people that are randomly picked. And just my personal opinion is, it's such a touchy subject that everybody's afraid to speak up about it. And I personally believe that I've never seen anything in my life worked on so hard in this city as this. And I think people are just afraid to speak up against it. And it's not a racial thing. It's not a discrimination thing. There are laws out there. And I do 100% believe we are putting this village at a liability by trying to make up our laws and going in there. And I realize the city of Cincinnati and some other communities have them. But I totally 100% believe if this is what we really believe that council wants, I think you need to put it on the November ballot and let the citizens actually vote and tell you what they want. and make it available to them, because this is such a huge thing. I don't think it's something that council should be voting on, and that's just my personal opinion and the people that have spoken to me about it, that's the route they would like to see happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. President,
Mr. Taberky?
can we put that ordinance on committee of the whole meeting agenda so we can discuss it? I know I went to one meeting, I couldn't make it to a bunch of them, but I've got questions. I've talked to Nicole about some of the questions. Are we gonna wait till the town hall meeting to
We
discuss
are
it?
definitely going to have it on a committee of whole.
But after the town hall or before?
We don't even have a town hall date stated, but no, I would hope before that.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? It's come to my attention this, well, before we go into executive session, it's come to my attention that it's actually Mr. Weedman's last day of work tomorrow. I'd like to congratulate him on all his years of service to St. Bernard. Thank you, Michael. The next council meeting then will be May 20th at 7 p.m. And at this time, council will go into executive session and come back as soon as we can.